Hey wealth builders, and welcome back to The Bemused. So it is February, which means that it is Black History Month, and I, as a Black person residing in these United States of America, would be remiss if I did not take some time out of this month to shed some light on the racial wealth gap that exists in this country. In today's video, we're going to be defining the racial wealth gap. We're going to be looking at a couple of policies that the US government has put in place that has hampered racial minorities from building wealth in this country. And we're also going to talk about what we as people of color can do to advance ourselves and what our white allies can do to help affect change. If you're new around here, welcome. My name is Akiva, and on this channel we talk about all things personal finance for young adults just like me. So if you're into that kind of thing, why don't you come join the squad by hitting that subscribe button and hitting the notification bell so that you never miss when we post new videos. So the racial wealth gap, what exactly is that about? The wealth gap measures the difference between the median wealth of whites versus the median wealth of blacks. And wealth, of course, is measured by net worth. And if you've been a subscriber from day one, literally, you know exactly how to calculate net worth. So here are some statistics on the racial wealth gap. And I pulled these statistics from a really great article written by fellow financial planner Brian Thompson, and I'll link to that article in the description box below, as well as any other resources that I mentioned in this video. According to the New York Times, for every $100 of white family wealth in America, Black families hold only $5.04. The Economic Policy Institute found that more than 1 in 4 Black households have 0 or negative net worth, compared to less than 1 in 10 for white families. And a recent report by the Institute of Policy Studies showed that between the years 1983 and 2013, the wealth of median Black households declined 75%, and the median wealth of Latino households declined 50%. At the same time, median wealth for white families increased by 14% during that same time period. Now, throughout American history, there have been several systematically racist policies that have been put into place by the US government that really affected minority groups' ability to build wealth. And today I want to highlight 5 of those policies. First, the Homestead Act. In the 1800s, the US government forcibly removed Cherokee, Creeks, and other Eastern Indians from their homes east of the Mississippi to other lands west of the Mississippi to make room for white settlers. In 1862, the Homestead Act allowed the US government to give away millions and millions of acres of what had been Indian Territory land away for free. Ultimately, 270 million acres, or 10% of the land area of the United States, was converted to private hands, overwhelmingly white, under the Homestead Act. Next, the Chinese Exclusion Act. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 was the first significant law that restricted immigration into the United States. American objections to Chinese immigration took many forms, and generally stemmed from economic and cultural tensions, as well as ethnic discrimination. In 1902, the prohibition was expanded to cover Hawaii and the Philippines under the GRAD Act. The Chinese Exclusion Acts were not repealed until 1943, and then only in the interest of aiding the morale of a wartime ally during World War II. Jim Crow laws. Now, of course, we know that slavery was abolished in the United States in the late 1800s. However, Jim Crow laws, which were state and local laws that enforced segregation in the southern United States, were enforced until 1965. Segregation was enforced in schools, in jobs, in housing, and in public gathering places. This meant that people of color were subject to lower paying jobs, which hindered their ability to build wealth. Now let's talk about redlining. Beginning in the 1930s, the Federal Housing Administration institutionalized discriminatory lending when it came to government-backed mortgages. They literally had maps just like this one, where government surveyors graded neighborhoods in 239 cities, color-coding them green for best, blue for still desirable, yellow for definitely declining, and red for hazardous. The red line areas were the ones that lenders discounted as credit risks, in large part because of the residents' racial and ethnic demographics. Buyers in those red line neighborhoods were often denied home loans. The practice of redlining continued until 1968, when it was finally repealed under the Fair Housing Act. Sadly, 50 years later, research shows that those redline neighborhoods are still predominantly occupied by minority residents, typically Black and Latino. Cities with more of those kinds of neighborhoods experience greater economic inequality. On the flip side, 91% of those areas that were classified as best on those maps remain upper to middle income today, and 85% of them are still predominantly white. Home equity is a significant source of wealth for many families, and redlining made it impossible for certain minority groups to build wealth in that way. TruTV has a really good YouTube video highlighting the impact of redlining on minority wealth, and I make sure to link to that also in the description box below. Lastly, the Social Security Act. The landmark Social Security Act of 1935 established what is known today as our retirement income system in the United States. But when it was passed, the act specifically excluded two professions: agricultural workers and domestic servants, who were predominantly African American, Mexican, and Asian. As low-income workers, these were also the group of people who had the least ability to save for retirement, which prevented them from building their wealth and passing it on to their children. So knowing this information, what can people of color do to advance themselves? I think the biggest thing you can do is educate yourself. And if you're a subscriber of this channel, it's evident that that is something that you want to do. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. You know you want to. Learn as much as you can about how to build wealth. I, of course, took it a step further in becoming a financial planner and devoting my life's work to helping other people learn how to build wealth and manage their finances. And if you're interested in becoming a financial planner as a career, I would absolutely love to talk to you all about that, because there aren't enough people who look like me in this field. I actually made an entire video all about that, which I will link in the cards above if you're interested. Even if you have no desire to become a financial planner and you don't have the ability to hire a financial planner, do your research and learn how to find reliable sources of information so that you are equipped with the knowledge that you need to help build your wealth. Now, what can our white allies do to help create change? You can do your part to help spread the word about the racial wealth gap and help build awareness about this issue. It also helps to support minority-owned businesses when you can, either through investment or just through consumer spending. And since government policies are what largely got us into this mess, use your voice and your vote to support and elect government officials and representatives that can put policy reform into place that will help close this racial wealth gap. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.